find a cat outside, a lot of times people's first reaction is to grab up the cat and want to take it somewhere. But the first thing you want to do is figure out whether the cat actually needs your help, and if so, what kind of help the cat needs from you. If you think it's a stray cat, you still need to figure out whether that's actually the case or not. What we find is a lot of people have cats that go outside and they'll go to visit the neighbor's house, maybe even go in the neighbor's house, eat some food, maybe do that every single day. And then folks think that these are stray cats that need help, but they're actually living at home and just coming to visit at the neighbor's house. So the way to assess that situation and find out whether the cat is actually a stray that needs your help is to put a collar and an ID tag on the cat. The ID tag should say, if this is your cat, call, with your phone number on it. And you can come by Dakin and pick up free collars and ID tags in order to do that. We find that people who feel really strongly that the cat is a stray cat that needs your help, actually 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 of those cats actually lives with a neighbor. So people are really surprised. They're really convinced that the cat needs to be picked up and taken somewhere to be helped because it's a homeless cat, but is actually living with a neighbor. What you want to be careful of with when you see a cat outside before you just start feeding is determine what you're going to be helping the cat with. What you want to stay away from is just feeding cats and not going any further. There are times you definitely don't want to go near an animal, whether it's a domestic cat or a wild animal, if the animal is showing neurologic symptoms that it has a problem with its brain, which means that the cat may not be able to walk properly. It may be staggering or falling over. Those are animals that potentially could have rabies, and you definitely don't want to be touching those animals. You should contact your animal control officer. So after you determine whether the cat needs to be helped, if it needs to be rehomed, if it's a cat that you haven't gotten a response from that tag that you put on, then the cat is friendly, wants to be petted, comes over to you, rubs on you, is soliciting attention from you, you should give Dakin a call and we can get an appointment to bring that cat in so we can find a new home for it. If the cat doesn't let you touch it, then that's a cat who is living outside and that is her home. She's not interested in coming into your house and living as a pet. You really want to make sure before you commit to start feeding that cat that you get a commitment to get that cat spayed and neutered, so you don't end up with 15 cats next year, 40 cats the year after that, and 75 cats the year after that. And we can help with that as well. Just give us a call.
Welcome back to Mass Appeal. We are live at Dakin Humane Society in Springfield, but we've stepped outside because we want to know what it's like to be trapped inside a hot car, because these days people, they leave their dogs and their pets inside the car. So we're with Leslie Harris. She's the executive director. Leslie, why have you decided to step into this car today?
Well, Seth, I decided to step into this car today to show people how fast it gets hot inside a parked car with the windows rolled up. And my hope is to show people how miserable it is in here so that they won't leave their pets, like their dogs or their small children, inside a hot car.
Now, when we started, it's about 80 or so degrees outside, and since then it's increased rapidly.
It has, and I've got all of the windows rolled down in my car right now, and it's getting up to be about 100 degrees. And soon I'm going to roll all the windows up and we'll see how fast it gets really hot.
See, Leslie, I can already tell you're starting to sweat a little bit. I'm sweating because I'm outside, but our pets, they can't sweat.
Well, you know, humans are lucky in that we cool our bodies through sweat. So when we sweat, that provides cooling for our whole body. But you have to remember that dogs don't sweat. They pant, and that's a much less effective way to cool their body. They already start with a higher average body temperature than humans do, so they're already out ahead of us. Then they've got this fur coat, and they can't sweat. So they get hot a lot faster than we do and are much more prone to heat stroke.
Leslie, if people are going to drive with their pets, what are some things that they can do to ensure that their pets are safe?
If you're going to take your dog somewhere with you, make sure you've got another adult human being with you that can stay behind and monitor the dog in the car, turn the car's air conditioning on or off. Otherwise, pay attention to the dog. Or take your dog in with you. Make sure that where you're going will allow you to have pets, but take your dog in the building with you. And if you can't do either one of those things, leave your pet at home.
So, Leslie, get to it. I guess we're at, what, almost 90 degrees?
Almost 90 degrees outside right now. I'm going to put this on my dashboard and roll up my windows, and we'll see what happens.
See Leslie in a little bit. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Mass Appeal. We are live at the Dakin Humane Society in Springfield. It's a gorgeous day, so we are outside. We're outside with Lee Chambers. She's the Marketing and Communications Manager for Dakin. Now, Lee, first, tell us a little bit about the outdoor space that we're in here.
We are in the courtyard here at Dakin Humane Society. This is a great little area we have for walking the dogs and exercising them. Even have a couple of plastic pools on hot days like this.
Lee, seeing as we are outside, we figured we'd share a little outside summertime pet safety with people. Let's talk about fire as it relates to pets.
A lot of people, of course, there's grilling, barbecuing, bonfires, all kinds of outdoor fires that are happening as people are entertaining. You got to be careful with that. You have to obviously keep the dogs away from the open flames. Even hours after you think that fire's out, it's still going to be hot. Don't chance it. Keep your dogs away from those things. Matches, lighter fluids, all that kind of stuff you use for your fires and your barbecues. Again, basic safety, keep it away from your dog. When you are cooking or prepping food for the barbecue and the cookout during the summer, a couple of basic things to keep in mind. You're using tin foil or plastic wrap or cooking string. Be sure you get rid of that stuff very securely when the cooking is done, because animals smell that, dogs smell that scent on there, there's bits of food on it. They're going to want to eat that stuff, and if they do, that's going to be very bad for you. You want to get rid of your trash, secure it very safely outside in a bin, because later on in the night, you don't want to be attracting raccoons or something like that. Very important to just get rid of the stuff that you want to prevent your dog from getting into. Poultry bones are notoriously bad. They're very thin bones. If a dog gets a hold of one and starts chewing it, they can splinter easily and perforate an organ. You've got an expensive ER trip coming up. Corn cobs, stuff like that. When the food is ready to be served, if you're going to do it at a table or whether you're standing up, there are just a few things to keep in mind. Keep an eye on the dog and where the food is. If you're going to put it out buffet style, have somebody watch the table in case your dog is a bit of a counter cruiser and will jump up and get the meat off there and take off with it. If you are standing around eating the food, which is the most likely scenario, people drop things when they're standing up and eating, and kids are notorious for that. They can't help it. The stuff spills off the plate, it's on the ground. If you have one dog, it's going to be chaotic enough. If you have multiple dogs, there is the chance that they're going to fight for that food, and you can have some real troubles. You can have dogs biting, fighting, injuring children. If your dog is really going to be aggressive about food, it really, really begs a lot, you might want to think about having your dog be in a room and not be mingling among the guests at all. Well, it's always great to be outside in the summertime at these barbecues and cookouts, but if you're hosting this in your home, most likely you're in the backyard, you probably have a fenced-in space, there's bound to be a gate there. And if there is, people are going to be coming and going, kids are going to be running in and out of it, there's going to be a moment somebody might leave it unlatched. Guess what's going to happen? Your dog's going to take off. So be sure your dog has a collar, an ID with updated contact info, very important thing right there. Dogs, as we said around the 4th of July, hate the firecrackers and the noise. Some people shoot those things off all summer. If that's happening, if there's loud, loud music, get your dog inside. Prevent your dog from having to listen to that stuff that hurts their ears. Very important point there. And one of the most basic things, right before the party gets started, be sure you've given your dog a nice big bowl of water that he's going to be able to get to all day long, because you don't want to risk him getting overheated or becoming sick with heat stroke or something like that. So just some basic common sense about party planning.
We're back with Leslie Harris. We're outside at Dakin Humane Society, and she's been cooped up, in case you missed it earlier, in a car for a while because we're demonstrating how toxic of an atmosphere this is, not only for children, but also for animals. Leslie, tell me how you're feeling.
Well, I'll tell you what, Seth, I am hot. In the first 5 minutes I was in this car, it went from 85 degrees to over 100 degrees on my thermometer. And I tell you, it is now well over 110 degrees in here. And if I was like a dog and I had to rely on panting, breathing that hot air to cool myself, I'd be in big trouble.
And that's the challenge that animals face because they can't sweat like we can.
That's right. Dogs and cats have to pant to cool their bodies. And if they had to pant this 110 or 120 degree air, they wouldn't effectively cool their bodies, and they would be very quickly on their way to heat stroke and even death.
Well, Leslie, point taken, get out of this car. If you want more information on any of the things we've seen today, go to dpvhs.org. Welcome back to Mass Appeal. We're here at Dakin Humane Society in Springfield, but we've gone from the main floor. Now we're in Jill Haley Rose's office. She's the training behavior coordinator, and you have your dog with you today.
Yep, got Mr. Diego here.
Now, what do people need to know when it comes to kids and not getting bit by their pets?
Well, one of the things is that I've seen over the years is that most of the bites that happen are dogs that kids know. They're not necessarily stray dogs, and a lot of these bites are preventable. And you can start teaching the child from a very early age the right way to interact with dogs. Just a quick example would be having a kid pat his leg to see if the dog wants to come to him instead of allowing the child to just walk up to the dog. And if the dog's ready, the dog will come.
Jill, how can parents teach their kids to better interact with dogs?
So what parents can do actually is start teaching a child from the get-go, even as a toddler or a baby, how to properly interact with the dog. Getting those habits installed early is key to keeping them safe as they get older, and keep reinforcing that. One of the things that I like to teach with very small children is gentle touch, and really all that is just what we call guided touch. And you can take like the young child, more like a toddler's hand, and put your hand over it and teach the child how to pet the dog gently. And that avoids the child, which a lot of really young ones tend to grab while they're petting, and then that's where a problem can happen. So I always recommend an adult, particularly with kids 4 and under, is always right there between the dog and the child and helping them, show them and supervising how they're handling the dog so it all goes great, and kids can be kids and start grabbing and hugging and all that kind of stuff. A lot of dogs do not like to be hugged or kissed, and that's something that parents should teach their child from the get-go. Even though the dog in their home might be okay with it, the next dog that they see may not be okay with it. So, they could go over the neighbor's dog and decide they want to wrap their arms around him and give him a big hug and kiss, but that dog may not have had that much interactions with children and may not tolerate that. And the common area where children do get bit is the face, and it tends to be a lot when they go in for a hug or kiss on a dog that isn't used to it.
So Jill, as a dog owner, how do you deal with kids coming into the house and their interaction with your dog?
Well, a lot depends when you're visiting someone's house, or let's just say you have a dog in your house and you've got visitors coming over who have children. If your dog might know your own children, but each child is an individual, and a 7-year-old boy can be very different than a 7-year-old girl, or just personalities are different. So they might interact with your dog in a different way. So supervision is absolutely key. Again, a lot of the problems that have happened, I'd say the majority of calls that I've ever gotten have been because literally a parent left the room just for a few seconds. And that was the moment, whatever, kid was being a kid and decided to do something. And a lot of times kids are not intentionally hurting the dog, but they're getting into the dog's space in some way. They're climbing in their bed, they're bothering them while they have a toy or a bone or something. So supervision is definitely key.